If we do the same math as before, that puts him at roughly $52,800,000. So first, sorry for the horrible appearance and the sound. I have the flu, so try to bear with me. So by the end of 2017, there were already over 30 million fitness videos on YouTube. So the fitness industry generates billions of views per year and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue through just YouTube alone. So obviously the money's there, but how much do the creators that we actually watch get paid? So that's the topic of this video. So we'll look at some of the biggest names in the fitness industry as of 2024, and we'll figure out how much YouTube pays them. So first we'll look at one of the biggest fitness creators, Athlean X. So if you've ever watched any exercise or fitness-based videos on YouTube, you've probably heard of Jeff from Athlean X. He's been making really high-quality workout videos since 2009, and he's pretty much risen up to the very top of the fitness world. So how much does a guy at the very top of the fitness industry get paid from YouTube? The vast majority of money that you earn through YouTube is going to come through AdSense and through sponsorships. And most of you know what AdSense is already, but for those of you that don't, YouTube AdSense is just the name for the money that YouTube pays you once your channel gets monetized. And here's where it gets interesting. So CPM, or cost per milli, is how much advertisers are willing to pay YouTube to show their ads on your videos. Depending on the niche you're in, so fitness in this case, CPM can range anywhere from less than $1 per 1,000 views, all the way up to around $30 per 1,000 views, or sometimes even higher depending on your particular niche. Like finance channels, for example, tend to have the highest paying CPMs. Anyway, the fitness industry is somewhere between those two extremes, but it's a little bit closer to the higher end than the lower end of that range. So generally videos that are like more educational, for example, tend to have higher CPMs than channels that are based mostly on entertainment. So for example, any of the like tutoring courses are going to pay more than something like a music or a gaming video. So let's say Athlean X has a CPM of around $15 per 1,000 views. So the amount of money that he'll take home from that is about 40% of what the CPM is. So this isn't always the case, but generally speaking, your take-home pay, if you will, is going to be somewhere around 40% of your CPM value. So if his CPM is roughly $15 per 1,000 views, then he's going to be taking home roughly $6 per 1,000 views. And that's called your RPM, or your revenue per million. So let's look through the last few years of his channel. According to Google, Athlean X has gotten roughly 2.4 billion views since he created his channel back in 2009. So like we said, his RPM is probably roughly $6 or $7 per 1,000 views. So if we take an RPM of $6.50 over 1,000 views, and then we solve for X over 2.4 billion lifetime channel views, so that would give us roughly $15,600,000 since the day he created his channel back in 2009. But it doesn't end there. So sponsorships also play a really big role in YouTube money. Oftentimes it's going to end up being actually more than what the AdSense pays you for your YouTube videos. So generally speaking, for a sponsorship, your RPM is probably going to be somewhere in the range of $15 to $30 per 1,000 views. And that's where the money can get pretty crazy. So let's say his sponsorship RPM was $22. If we do the same math as before, that puts him at roughly $52,800,000. So this is most likely higher than what it actually is, because he's been around since 2009, and he probably wasn't getting offers that paid that well near the beginning of his channel. But even if he only made 40% of that massive $52 million, he'd still be pocketing roughly $21 million from sponsorships alone. I'd say that's pretty good. So there's also affiliate marketing and other ways to get paid on YouTube, but the ranges on affiliate marketing tend to vary so much that I wouldn't even know how to calculate how much money he's going to make on affiliate marketing. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to leave that out. Anyway, $21 million for sponsorships and roughly $15 million for AdSense means he's most likely earned somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 to $35 million since he created his channel back in 2009. And again, YouTube didn't always pay this much, so it's probably a lot lower than that in real life, or at least by a couple $1 million, but that's still a pretty insane amount of money. Alright, so let's look at Jesse James West, because he's going to be an interesting contrast to Jeff from Athlean X. So like Athlean X, Jesse is also in the fitness industry, obviously, but his videos are more entertainment-based than educational-based, which means two things. One, his YouTube AdSense RPM is probably a little bit lower than what Athlean X was, and two, he's probably getting more offers for sponsorships, so he might actually be getting paid more than Jeff in the sponsorship category. So Jesse created his channel back in June of 2016. So he's going on about 8 years now since his first post. So he's obviously gotten a lot more views as his channel progresses year over year. And if we look at some of his more popular videos, he's getting over 10 million views on some of these bigger ones. All right, so hopping back on Google here. So Jesse's gotten somewhere around 950 million views by the end of 2023. So following the same approach here that we did with Jeff from AthleanX. So if Jesse averaged an RPM of around $5 per 1,000 views, then he would have been paid roughly $4.75 million so far as of early 2024 from YouTube AdSense alone. But sponsorships are actually probably where Jesse's making the bulk of his money. So let's say he's got an average sponsorship RPM of $25 per 1,000 views. So if he was actually earning this sponsorship rate since the very beginning of his channel, he would have been paid out roughly $23.75 million from YouTube sponsorships alone. But like we said earlier, channel sponsors don't always pay this well, and when channels are first starting out, they almost never get a rate that high, especially when they're a smaller channel. Anyway, $23.75 million plus $4.75 million would be roughly $28.5 million. Even if he's only earned roughly half of that, that still puts him at about $14 million, which is still pretty crazy to think about. All right, last one we'll look at today is Chris Heria. So if you clicked on this video, you've probably heard of this guy before. He's somewhere between AthleanX and Jesse's content in the sense that he's more educational than Jesse tends to be, but more focused on entertainment than what most of the AthleanX videos are. Also, he's got a bit more of a personal brand going for him than AthleanX or Jesse. That probably helps him make a little bit more money. So Chris started his channel back in October of 2017 and pretty quickly grew a big following. So as of early 2024, he's got about 4.8 million subscribers, and he's gotten about 390 million total views on his channel since 2017. So we'll do the same math that we did for the other two. Let's say Chris's RPM is roughly $6 per 1,000 views. So at 390 million total views, that would be roughly $2.34 million so far. And again, that's just purely YouTube AdSense over the last 6 years. So like we said, because Chris had a more established branding than some of the other fitness YouTubers at the time, that's probably going to end up being beneficial for how much money he's able to charge for ads and just how much YouTube's going to pay him for his RPM. So because of that, I'd say his sponsorship RPM is probably roughly $30 per 1,000 views. So with 390 million views, that would translate roughly to $11.7 million through sponsorships. So like in the other two examples, it's probably not actually that high because of the reasons that we mentioned earlier, but even if his take-home pay was roughly half of our estimated figure, so he'd still have earned $7 to $8 million through his YouTube channel so far. So yeah, I think the potential to make really good money as a fitness YouTuber, or really any niche for that matter, is still totally doable and totally possible. Obviously, these are on the higher end of what you would expect from YouTube pay, but you can still get a pretty livable wage with a much smaller view count. So let's say you wanted to make $80,000 a year as a fitness YouTuber. So roughly how many views would that take? So if your RPM for AdSense is around $5, then you'll get $5,000 for every million views. So if we're just talking about AdSense alone, in order to make a salary of roughly $80,000 per year, you would need about 16 million views per year, or about 1.3 million views per month. So that in itself is obviously not an easy feat, but the good news is we haven't actually done sponsorships yet. So let's say you start out on the lower end and you get a sponsorship RPM of about $15 per 1,000 views. So if we take that $15 RPM that we get from sponsorships and we combine that with the $5 RPM that we get from AdSense, then we can expect to get roughly $20 per 1,000 views. So let's do some math on that. So $20 over 1,000 views equals $80,000 over X views. So we solve for X and then we get 4 million views. So that's significantly better than having to get 16 million views. So I've probably beat this dead horse enough times already, but like we said earlier, in the early days of a new channel, the pay is not going to be that good initially. So in all reality, you probably need to get 5 to 10 million views per year to actually get that $80,000 salary, at least until the sponsorships that reach out to you start to offer you more money. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to some of you that are maybe considering starting a YouTube channel or were just curious on how much these bigger YouTubers are making. At the time of recording this, I have exactly 71 subscribers, so if you want to get in there while I'm still in my early days, now's your chance. Seriously though, thanks for watching the video. These do take a fair bit of effort to put together, so if you'd consider giving me a comment or a like, I would greatly appreciate that. Hope this was helpful and enjoyable. Have a good day.